Hey everyone, for those of you that are new here, my name is Vishal. I have a degree in computer science from UCLA, and I've spent a number of years working in the tech industry in the Silicon Valley. Let's talk ChatGPT. ChatGPT has taken the world by storm. It reached over 100 million users in 60 days, which is the fastest of literally any tech product ever. News outlets, celebrities, sales bros, you name it, everyone's talking about it. Even my mom knows about it. So yeah, to say people are excited is a bit of an understatement. That being said, there's a lot of excitement around this thing, and a lot of claims being made about it, but not a whole lot of talk or understanding around what it actually is or how it works, particularly among those who don't work day-to-day in technology. In this video, I'm going to go deep on ChatGPT in a way that's hopefully accessible to people even without a computing background. We'll talk about some of the history behind ChatGPT and its underlying technology, how it all works, and what it's capable of. We'll also talk a bit about whether it's going to take over the world, although hopefully more from the perspective of computers versus fear-mongering or science fiction. Let's get started. First off, what is ChatGPT? ChatGPT is an artificial intelligence, aka AI tool, that is developed by OpenAI, a research company based out of San Francisco, California. As the name suggests, it roughly boils down to a chatbot. You can ask it questions, and it will attempt to come up with a response to you in a way that seems like a regular conversation. That being said, there's no human at the other end of it. Humans built the technology that ChatGPT is based on, but it's the technology at the end of the day that will be coming up with the responses to it, not some human manually entering an answer for you at the other end. To give a bit of a visual for what ChatGPT even looks like, here's a basic recording of me asking ChatGPT for a bunch of different potato dishes, and then drilling down into French fries, and then even further into garlic fries. Now, a lot of this is totally reasonable. I'm not sure I would expect a human to respond with garlic aioli when talking about garlic fries, but I could certainly see a real person giving a lot of responses that sound kind of like this. So, how close is this to an actual human? Does this mean AI is going to start taking over the world, like in The Matrix? I think in order to drill down into a reasonable answer to this question, we need to start looking into some of the history behind ChatGPT. ChatGPT is an implementation of the GPT-3 language model. GPT-3 was first released in 2020, with the latest version that ChatGPT uses being released in late 2022. GPT-2 was first released in 2019, and GPT-1, the first one, was released in the previous year, 2018. 2018 is pretty recent in the grand scheme of things, but the important word to latch onto here is language. The GPT models are part of the field of AI known as NLP, or Natural Language Processing. To boil NLP down into one simple concept, it's the attempt to give computers the ability to break down and comprehend words in much the same way that we as humans do when we read or hear something. This field has been around for a lot longer than just the past 5 years, and we actually see NLP being used in a lot of the different widely available tools we have and use today. Some of you may be watching this video on an iPhone, in which case you're probably familiar with Siri, Apple's voice assistant that was released in 2011. Or maybe you've used a Google Assistant or Alexa. All three of these use NLP to understand and respond to questions and requests. Additionally, if you've ever written a paper or an email and you've used a tool like Grammarly to help you restructure or complete your sentences, that's NLP at work as well. NLP research actually goes all the way back to the 1950s. The field of NLP has evolved a lot over the years, especially with computers becoming more and more powerful, as well as with the prevalence of larger and larger data sets. NLP models essentially have these large data sets of text at their disposal and can use them when trying to process new information. As an example, when you ask Siri to tell you how hot is it outside, Siri can turn to its data sets and try to understand what you mean by your request, and then it'll come back and tell you, hey, it's actually 70 degrees Fahrenheit outside. That brings us to our next topic. Now that we have that framing of where this all comes from, let's dive into how ChatGPT itself works. Roughly, ChatGPT generates one word at a time. So for every word, ChatGPT will go to its model and say, hey model, here's what I have so far. What's the word that should come next? That model will then scour the vast amounts of data that it has and it'll come up with a ranking of probabilities of what word should come next. Let's run through an example. Let's say I wanted to ask ChatGPT, what is a potato? ChatGPT will take this question, take it to the model, and say, hey, what comes next? The model will then take that and say, well, with 75% probability, the next word should be A. With 20% probability, the next word should be it. Maybe with 3% probability, the next word should be potatoes. A has the highest probability, so that's the one that gets chosen. That then continues with the next word. The model will then one at a time spit out more and more words until we get something like a sentence, like a potato is a tuber. If you couldn't tell, I like potatoes a lot, and I will try to work them into every example I can. The datasets at ChatGPT's disposal are essentially things that have been written by all of us. Articles, books, social media posts, Wikipedia, all of these among other sources. By using all of these different data sources, ChatGPT can come up with a reasonable guess of which word is next, because it has all these examples to draw from of how a sentence or a group of sentences is structured. Now let's run through that example again to see how the model would know which words not to pick as the next word. So the question is, what is a potato? Let's say we have the same starting word in our answer as before, which is A. And then with our previous answer, the next word was potato. Now let's say we didn't know quite yet that the next word should be potato. There are some words that we know it probably couldn't be, right? One example is the word the. You wouldn't see a sentence that starts with the. So the probability of the next word being the is probably 0% or very close to it. So we know this naturally, right? And the model would be able to know this because if it scours through all of its data sets, it's not going to find many, if any, examples of sentences that start with the. And this is roughly how the model would determine the priority of the next word. If it sees certain groupings of words more often, it'll bump the priorities up for the next possible word. So, the question that's on a lot of people's minds, will this take over the world? Well, when we're speaking, we don't process all the probabilities of which word can come next and then spit out that word with the highest probability. Or do we? We know remarkably little about how the human brain actually works. The interesting thing about ChatGPT is, although the concept of probability-based word generation is relatively simple to understand, it works remarkably well. And maybe the information that it spits out is not entirely accurate. It ends up sounding pretty close to a human. That being said, I think it's very, very tough to go from almost sounding like a human to truly sounding like a human. Now, you're completely welcome to disagree with me, but I think this imitation is quite far from being able to come up with thought that rivals ours. Now, maybe that changes if you train the model on certain data and omit others. Maybe it changes if you train it more on words that are spoken aloud versus words that are written on paper or online. Whatever it is, it'll be interesting to see how this technology evolves over the coming years, and especially how it impacts our lives over the coming years. And that's it. That's all I have to say about ChatGPT, at least for this video. Hopefully I was able to help you understand a little bit more about the tool, how it works, where it came from, all of that. If you enjoyed the video at all, please feel free to give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you would like, where I post more videos about tech and the tech industry. That's it for now. See you next time.